Hey everyone, and welcome to Screams After Midnight. I am Peter, that is Tim, and we talk about horror movies on this show. And in this episode, we are looking at a film that came out last year. It's called The Ranger. So we'll start spoiler free as we always do. We'll give you warnings somewhere in the middle before we go into spoilers. Yeah, so The Ranger is a movie about a group of punks who are in a punk band. They're basically in trouble, they're doing drugs and all that kind of thing. And because Chelsea, our main character, played by Chloë Levine, is questioned by a police officer, her asshole boyfriend decides to stab the police officer. So they go on the run, and they eventually go and hide in a cabin that Chloe has inherited from her uncle, who she used to go and spend time with in the mountains. But there's also a ranger out there, who the titular ranger, if you will, who becomes a bit of a problem for them. So I'll just say that there for the spoiler-free synopsis, and I shall ask Tim, did you enjoy The Ranger?
Well, first of all, I gotta say, great recap.
Thank you.
I had heard a lot about this. Well, not not a lot of specific stuff, but I just heard like people talking about it. I think it flew on. It was like kind of an indie movie from last year that maybe might have flown under a lot of people's radars, but I heard good buzz about it, so I was excited to watch it, and it finally came to Shudder this week, and. I was pretty happy with it. It wasn't, like, oh my God, this is amazing, this is like my new favorite movie or anything. But yeah, I think it's a very serviceable watch. I think the characters really all I knew about this movie is that it was like I kept hearing people say about it's punk, which I wouldn't call it like a punk horror movie. It's just a horror movie where all the characters are punks. But I do think that, that did make it a lot more interesting than the typical just, like boring, bland characters or something. Like it, kind of, gave them like some personality and like, a little bit of like an aesthetic and stuff to them, which was cool. And then, I think, there was some like cool deaths and stuff. And it is I was very happy when I saw this, but it was like an 80-minute watch, which is always nice. I think it's a pretty good little indie horror movie.
I didn't like it.
Are you gonna go a little more into it than that?
She went on for about 5 minutes there, and I'm like, I didn't like. Every character who's not Chelsea or the Ranger himself, I hated. I hated them all with a passion. They're horrible.
That's because you're not punk, man.
If being punk is just being an inconsiderate douchebag who doesn't understand why you shouldn't be stabbing cops, then yeah, I'm not punk. What can I say?
I mean, I do think that's part of it, but no, yeah, they are definitely not like good people. But there were parts in the movie where you do kind of want them to be like, all right, dude, like drop the facade, like just you don't have to be so like destructive all the time. But again, though, I'd rather take that than just kind of the same characters you get in like so many like mainstream horror movies that are just kind of bland and lifeless.
I think my problem is that ultimately none of them ever really have much of an arc or really learn anything or change or anything. I mean, the story is Chelsea's story, and she gets the lion's share, but there's points where she's arguing with Garth about like who she is and how she acts, and he's so like he thinks he's in the right by calling her out for not accepting who they are, and it felt really kind of forced to me. It's hard to take this from this character who has been thoroughly unlikable. There's nothing about him that's just not immature. There's nothing about him where I go, sure. Like, yeah, you have a right to like fight fire with fire in this conversation. You don't. You don't. She's right. She's completely right. If anything, my critique of Chloe is just why is she with these people in the first place?
Chelsea.
Chelsea, yes, or the actress's name Chloe.
Oh, yeah.
So that was it was a slip, but it was a fair slip. I don't know, like I think it picked up a little bit once the actual shall we say, action kicks in, but that's like a good 40
danger.
Yeah, danger. That's a good 45-50 minutes into the movie before that happens. And it's not a movie that has much atmosphere before that part, like, because it is just a bunch of assholes in a van, and then they go into the woods and they get supplies at the store, and they kind of wreck the place a little bit, and Chelsea's pissed about it because this is a place that she has fond memories of, and she cares about how her uncle used to keep it and that kind of thing. I wasn't feeling it. It picked up a little bit once the killings started actually happening, and I was okay, some of these killings are okay. And I did like I like Chloë Levine, who plays Chelsea, and I kind of like Jeremy Holm, who played the Ranger. I thought those two were given solid performances. Everyone else, I was just anticipating their death as quickly as humanly possible.
Sorry. So are you saying that you didn't? Well, obviously, I know you're saying you didn't like the characters, but are you saying you didn't like the actors as well, or did you think they at least did a good job of playing, these assholes?
I wouldn't say they're bad actors. No, it was more. They just weren't interested. I thought they were very one note as far as characters go, and there wasn't really like much payoff to anything that it kind of set up. Like early on, like there's this other girl who's with them. What's her name? Amber, who's got the blue hair. See, Chelsea has the pink hair. Amber has the blue hair.
It made me want to dye my hair. I was talking about with my wife if what color I would look good with.
Just try pink. Tim.
I don't know. We're thinking like maybe neon green, but we'll see.
Neon green. Sure. Yeah, you look the Joker. I felt like they set up a bunch of stuff. Like there's the scenes earlier on where it felt like Garth, because he's a dick, that's Chelsea's boyfriend, he's completely awful. He disregards her feelings at every turn of the way. He seems to just kind of start flirting with Amber, and it feels like they're setting something up. Like either maybe they will do something, and this will be like how Chelsea realizes what he's like, or maybe nothing will happen. It'll show that he's actually not that bad, or maybe it's something, but nothing happened. Like nothing ever came of it.
Sure, yeah.
It was almost. It felt like it was just there to kind of fill time, almost, in a weird way. I guess it's there. It's because Chelsea's kind of separate from the group at this point. She's off to just kind of swim in a lake by herself, and I guess it's like it's showing she's different from the rest of them, and she is. I think. I can't like tear it to shreds too much beyond just saying. Do you know what it feels like to me? And then obviously this went to Shudder, and it's now like a Shudder original now, even though it wasn't originally. Even though this is not Netflix, it feels like a Netflix original movie to me. And it's like, okay, the concept's fine. I see potential in some of it, but it's just a bit bland.
Yeah, I think that's fair to say. It definitely worked more for me. Like there maybe could have been a little more like a style or something to it. Like I'm assuming it was probably like pretty low budget, but like I don't know. I didn't really have as many of the same problems. I do kind of feel like I do agree, like a lot of the people, they are like pretty like insufferable. Like I think maybe you get like little glimpses of them trying to be like a little more chill, but especially like with Garth seems to be like a big instigator of like, no, like screw that, like we're not going to calm down or be respectful or whatever. But like I don't know, I feel like they kind of like reminded me of like some people like I knew growing up, not to this outrageous of an extent, obviously. Oh, sure. Like but I don't know, so I don't know, part of that was kind of interesting to me. And then, and I did like the, I think that the guy that played, the Ranger did a good job, and I was expecting maybe a little bit more to come out of their relationship with Chelsea, like the way they're hinting at like a past connection and stuff. But I don't know. I feel like maybe I would have liked to have gotten a little bit more of a glimpse, inside of him. Or either actually maybe could have gone like one of two ways. Like maybe you get a little more insight to him, or just maybe like none at all. Like maybe he is just more of a very like imposing figure that you just know nothing of. But no, I still liked it though. I do think once the horror starts, it I think it does pick up a little bit more. But I liked pretty much like all the death scenes I thought were pretty good, and there was some good gore and stuff in it, and it's I guess we'll get into it more in spoilers, but
my cast demanding attention is distracting me. I mean, Jeremy Holm, who plays the Ranger, like I saw him in Mr. Robot.
Okay.
He's pretty solid in that. He's solid in this as well. I think what the movie really needed to do was to set him up as more of a killer early on, and because it takes a long time to get to it before he's actually coming after anyone. And I think had it been more. I hate to always just go, it should be a higher body count, but I almost feel like there should be more characters in this that he's taken out. Maybe before like the main group get there, maybe there's other people in the forest or on the mountain that he has to take care of. I don't know.
Because that is like a good question. Is he like this to everybody, or is it specifically because these punks are so kind of obnoxious and disrespectful? Is that what's making them more of a target?
I think it's implied that he does this to anyone who's there when they're not supposed to be, because there's all those missing posters of all the hunters that were told not to go up to the mountain during this season, but they do it anyway. And then
he's a stickler for the rules. What can you say?
And his delivery of that when he's like, "Hey, like you violated this code, this section, blah blah blah," as he's murdering them, like. Yeah, like he's interested enough in his performance that it kind of works. But like I said, there's a problem in the movie where it kind of doesn't have anything horror or anything murdery or whatever for a lot of the film. And then once it starts, it happens in a very quick sequence. And some of those scenes are pretty good. I think... The problem with that, I think that can work if the characters are really engaging and it works well as a drama before we get to that point. I don't think they do in this, though. There's a couple of things with Chelsea where you're like, okay, it's hinting at this backstory, it's hinting at what she went through as a kid, what's going on here, because we know she was here with her uncle. We know she met this ranger as a kid. Just from the opening scene, the prologue scene. So it's into some stuff with that, and you're getting that the movie's about her realizing she's not like them. She's different as much as she's trying to fit in. And as an arc, that's fine. That's totally fine as an arc. I don't think that it's all that exciting though for the majority of the runtime, and I think because it doesn't do maybe as much with her character as I would like, the final kind of scenes where it reaches its climax don't have quite the payoff that I think I would hope they would. If that's what, because if the point of the movie is like, it's going to show who your inner beast or your inner whatever, I feel like she should be bubbling up throughout the film, and I didn't really get that sense. It was just kind of like, sure, now's time to have the plot develop, so we'll do a plot development thing here.
I think all right. I have some thoughts, but I guess it's going to be spoiler.
Are we ready for spoilers? We can go to spoilers now.
Okay. All right. So spoiler warning. Well, I guess that's kind of the point of the movie, and I guess maybe the point of what the ranger is trying to show to her is that like he recognizes that she is like this killer, or that like she has this killer in him.
She's a wolf.
And like so I don't know. I guess what is he trying to do? Like almost like he almost wants to like show her this way. Like does he want to make her like part of his pact or something, or does he actually want to die and have her like almost like, I don't know, take over as the killer of these woods or something?
Yeah, does he want a replacement? So he's grooming her to replace him. I don't know. It's
tough to maybe I have to watch it again or think about it maybe a little harder, but it wasn't really clear the exact motivations. Like it's obviously why he wants to kill like all the punks and stuff, because hey, these are my woods, you're disrespecting the rules and all this stuff. But I'm not sure exactly how he felt towards Chelsea and what exactly he wants of her. And then then there's even like a very kind kind of like a creepiness to it, but like I never really understood if they were going for it. Like, is there a some type of like attraction, like a sexual attraction between obviously not from her to him, but like from him to her. I don't know.
I don't think there was supposed to be. I think it was meant to be purely like
more of a almost like an apprentice kind
yeah
of thing.
I think it was no, I recognize your greatness, so you're going to be my it was like it's Whiplash, right? He's J.K. Simmons and she's Miles Teller.
Yeah, because that's what I was like a little afraid of at first, especially like with all the flashbacks when he's seems to be very like present in our life. I was like, oh, I hope this isn't going this kind of route, but luckily they kind of veered away from that.
Yeah, I never did that, which would have been duller because it had just been, oh, okay, he's obsessed with this girl, and
that's
like
true.
that's all. He's just in love, and I guess in a way he is in love, but it's not in that way. So it does make it a little bit more interesting than just doing the same old thing. Because the backstory is that we eventually find out that the uncle wasn't killed by wolves like she told the others when they got there. He was actually shot by her by accident when she was learning to shoot. He was teaching her how to shoot as a kid. Far too young to be shooting guns, by the way. Just I want to put that out there.
Oh yeah,
she's like 6 or 7. No, and she shoots him off the edge of a ravine, and like, so this is why. So the ranger obviously finds this, and this is why he's like, I know you're a killer. I know you're a wolf.
Yeah, and this is something that me and my wife were actually discussing a lot because I was under the impression that this was an accident, but she. Like her theory was that no, she like deliberately did that on purpose because she did have like some type of killer, instinct in her, and that's what attracted the ranger to her. I'm not sure if I don't know. What did you have Did you think it was like an accident or? Well,
the first time you see it, it seems like an accident. By the time it gets to the end of the movie, and like the point is that he saw she was a killer, and she kind of says, "Yeah, I'm just like you." She's beating the shit out of him, and then eventually shoots him off the fire tower, or the watchtower, which mirrors what she did to her uncle quite severely, because she looks over the edge and he's lying down there. It's a very similar image to what happened with her uncle. I think the ending does imply that it was on purpose, and so to some extent, where she clearly is blanked out of her memory. She's clearly repressed it, but I don't think it was an accident just based on where the movie goes at the end.
That's true. Yeah.
And I guess the movie's about finding where you fit in, like realizing who you are and accepting who you are. But in this case, it's accepting that you're a murderer.
Which, like, I wonder if that's why she got into the punk scene, kind of, because, like, she
didn't feel like she belonged anywhere. Yeah.
Yeah, and then like these. I probably wouldn't call these other kids like murderers, but I mean, he did stab that cop pretty severely.
Which, I think it's one of the other things that start the movie is it's hard to be sympathetic towards any of this group because they're on the run for stabbing a cop who, unless I missed something in that scene, didn't do anything unjust. He was doing his job pretty,
I think this is I think it's like a fine motivation for them to need to go into the woods and everything, but I do think maybe it's not handled that well, because like everything seems so fast and you're not exactly sure, like there's something about drugs, and then everyone's running away, and then someone's like all of a sudden snapping a cop. Like I feel like maybe it seems like a little frenetic and messy. Like it probably could have still had them get into some type of law trouble, but maybe
you could have him still stab the cop, but like I think the problem is that there's zero remorse from anyone except Chelsea, who looks kind of like baffled by it. But like Garth afterwards is like, "F yeah, I stabbed the pig." Like that's his reaction.
Like maybe it would have been better or something if like maybe they weren't doing anything wrong, but like a cop started to hassle them, and maybe like it was an asshole cop, so they were kind of forced to step in and do this or whatever. And then like obviously you'd still have to go on the run for that, but then they would have more of a reason to be like yeah, why they're doing that.
You'd have a reason not to just go, well, these are awful people, I don't care what happens to them.
Yeah.
Which is basically my attitude in this movie. I don't care what happens to them because they're all awful people, except maybe Chelsea, although it turns out Chelsea's a straight up murderer. So
yeah. See, I don't know, I didn't really like, for me, I thought the boyfriend was like an awful person, so I didn't really care what happened to him, but I still liked Abe and Jerk, and I actually thought like the relationship was kind of sweet, and then I felt bad when they died.
I mean, they're more likable than Garth is, but I feel like they enable him. They kind of are on his side at one point. You know,
that's fair.
Because I think it's Abe that makes a joke actually at one point where Chelsea gets upset and says, "I'm not your goddamn maid," and she storms out of the house, and he goes, "Wait, that isn't the maid?" You know, like, you know, they kind of go along with Garth's jokes, and they also they're tagging the trees like they're not supposed to be. And
well, sure, yeah. I mean, they're not like, you know, PG characters, but again, it's not. With them, they weren't ever to the point of me like being like, "Oh, screw these guys," you know, they need to die.
No, I wanted everyone to die. Everyone was fair pickings.
You're such a square.
Everyone was fair pickings. That's all I'm saying. No, because you know there was actually one interesting bit musically where it's just when so the first thing that happens that's sort of like dangerous is that what's her name, Amber, gets shot in the ear. You know, everything's fine, and then she gets shot in the ear. And they're all panicking, and after like they've all kind of split up because, you know, Chelsea and Garth are going up to the guy's house, his cabin, to find him.
Yeah.
The ranger actually pulls up where Amber's with Abe, and he's, you know, it sounds like he's been helpful. He's asking, okay, let's do this, let's do that, and he pulls out his rifle and says, well, it's better to just put her out of her misery, she's already gone. And just shoots her in the head. As this was happening, there's this kind of pulse. It's almost like the Thing. It's like boom boom.
Oh yeah,
boom, boom. I just stuck out to me. I wanted to mention it.
Yeah, no, that was really cool. I really like the and yeah, I do think, like, yeah, you said before, once like all this kind of danger and killing stuff starts, I do think that a lot of this is really good. Like, I really like the what do you call it, the bear trap scene. I thought was pretty good, and yeah, like whenever the ranger shows up, I do feel like a lot of the tension, because especially, you know, at first when you're not quite sure what his motivation is, or like, obviously, you know, he's, you know, a scary, imposing figure, but yeah, you're not exactly sure what he's going to do at first. And then yeah, like, I like some of that early stuff when he's talking about like, oh man, we gotta get her to the hospital, and the ranger's like, no, like, you know, we're not going to do that. And then, you know, when you're starting to kind of see these little hints of where he's going, I think it builds like some nice like tension and stuff with it. But yeah, I mean, that bear trap scene, that was probably my favorite of the movie.
Yeah, because he forces the was it Abe to pull his leg out, so his foot gets ripped off.
Yeah, which I wonder, like, could you really do that? Like, I don't know, like, would it have gone through the bone? Because I can't imagine like ripping your bone off. But
I would guess not, but I mean, who knows? Maybe some bear traps are just that powerful.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I was just curious. Like, I don't think it, you know, it doesn't ruin my scene if it's not accurate. But I was just wondering.
I suppose if you look at it this way, it's built for a bear who's thicker, so maybe a human leg, it would actually go through the bone.
Actually, that's a good point. Yeah.
So, like a rat trap, for example, wouldn't cause us as much damage because we're bigger, we're tougher than the rat. But the bear's tougher than we are, so that's why we're in a pickle if you step in a bear trap.
That's a very good point. You're starting to sound like a ranger yourself. All right, so so the big question I have is when so, like, you know, when Abe gets out of the car and everything, and you know, he's kind of forced up against this tree, or, well, not really forced, but like he backs up against this tree, and then there's a wolf there. Is that supposed to be a real wolf, or is that the ranger in a wolf skin?
It seemed like a real wolf to me. But I know why you're saying that, because later on when he's got Chelsea in the cage, he puts on like a wolf skin over his head and starts howling.
Yeah. So, just curious. Yeah, I mean, I guess it could go either way, but that's something I was wondering about.
But that was right after he killed Garth, which is obviously the crowd pleasing moment of the movie, is when that idiot Garth finally dies.
That's true. Yeah, I'll vouch for most of the other characters, but definitely Garth was was not too fussed when he went.
Yes, I don't imagine he would be. So yeah, it ends up with this showdown between where he drugs her up, but he injects her with like the cocaine or whatever it is.
Did they call it Echo? I think
so. Well, I think they have cocaine, but then the Amber has the pink stuff as well, which I think is what he injected her with. But she's like, "You can't inject that, you idiot! it's not how you use it." And she ends up like stabbing him in the neck with a needle, and they end up fighting a little bit. And it leads up to the Watchtower, where they have their kind of final showdown. She kind of unleashes her Hulk. She unleashes her rage and kills him.
Yeah, she's just clobbering him with I forget what was she using to beat him.
Was it just the was it not just a gun? Maybe no, it was just her hands, right?
Oh, I thought she had something in her hands, but maybe I was wrong.
Yeah, right. The gun was there though, because she picks up the gun afterwards and shoots him.
That's true. Yeah.
But yeah. She's just but he's lost a tooth actually by the time.
Oh yeah, it was. I thought the gore was pretty good in this movie, because I definitely did not like looking at that.
It wasn't like persistent. Like it was definitely, and again, like I don't mind it being like a slow build or whatever if I'm into the characters and the actual like character arc of the movie. I don't think I necessarily was early on, even though I do like Chloë Levine, who much like Jeremy Holm, I'd seen in a bunch of TV shows. She was in the OA.
Oh, really?
She was in, I think she was in Defenders actually, that I'm thinking about.
Oh, really?
And she was in something else. Because I remember like seeing her in like 3 things on TV shows like back to back really quickly, which is why I remembered what 2 of them were. I don't know what the 3rd one was now though. I'm forgetting. But she was in like 3 things like really back to back.
I didn't catch it at first, but my wife pointed out the actress that played the younger version of her, I guess, was the girl from Pet Sematary.
Oh. Oh.
I mean, I'm just saying.
Oh, Mr. Robot. She was in an episode of Mr. Robot. Oh, so both her and Homer and Mr. Robot. Isn't that funny?
Interesting.
Different episodes, but I mean, he was in a lot of episodes of Mr. Robot. Oh, she was also in The Deuce. Yeah, she popped on a lot of TV shows like really quickly.
Oh.
Yeah, it's a frustrating one because I don't think it's terrible. I just think it's that Netflix quality where it's like really bland and in the middle, and it's got a couple of nice ideas and 1 or 2 nice moments. The best thing about it, I think, is the 2 cast members. I think it's Levine and Holm who play Chelsea and the Ranger. I think they're the best part about it. He's got this kind of happy. He reminds me a lot, actually, to an extent, of the mayor from the hit television show Buffy the Vampire Slayer, where he's got this kind of he's a killer and he's kind of evil, but he's got this cheery disposition where he'll crack kind of like silly dad jokes and things like that.
Yeah.
At one point when Chloe, when she's like drugged up, spills the glass of milk, he says, "Well, there's no need to cry over spilled milk," and he just laughs at his own joke for like a minute.
Yeah.
It reminded me of the mayor from Buffy a little bit. Okay. He's got that kind of quality.
Yeah, I can see that.
Which is good because in Mr. Robot, he reminded me a lot of Patrick Warburton actually. Not in his voice or in like that, just in the way that he was like this quiet bodyguard kind of character, but he's got this kind of big Patrick Warburton kind of look to him.
I can see that.
Yeah.
Oh, Patrick Warburton. I feel like he should have done at least like 1 horror movie at some point.
No, the last thing I saw him in was a series of unfortunate events.
I mean, yeah, maybe he is known for kid stuff, but I guess he does. He's done more adult stuff too. I don't know.
A lot of voice work. He's got a very distinct voice.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I wouldn't argue with too many of your points, but I do think it just worked better for me. Like again, I'm not going to say that it's amazing. Like there are definitely flaws. Like I do. I wouldn't go as far as you and say that I was like bored, during the kind of, the first half or so. But I do agree that there is a bit of a lull. There is a pretty, exciting opening, and then once they kind of start to get in the woods and stuff, it does take a bit for it to pick up. But once it does, I actually really liked, pretty much everything on from, Amber's gunshot to, right up to the end.
Which again is a good 45, 50 minutes in when that happens. Which out of an 80-minute movie is quite,
Yeah, it's a short movie, so it's like less than half of the movie. But no, I mean I liked it. It's it definitely could have been better. There could have been some stuff that maybe was fleshed out more or a little more interesting, but it still worked for me.
Of all the suggestions or critiques that I've made, I think the big one that would fix a lot of it and make a lot of the other ones redundant would be if it was if I could like the characters or care about the characters. I just don't find them likable or empathetic, so it was tough.
Yeah. And I guess that's where the big difference between us is. I definitely agree that they're not good people, but I still find them likable, even though they kind of like douchebags.
Yeah. What you rate it though, Tim?
I think obviously probably going to be a bit higher than yours for sure, but I think I'm actually going to give it a 7. I really I dug it. It's not again, not the stellar, but I would certainly watch it again. And again, I think the biggest compliments for these kind of things is I'm excited to see what the director does next now, especially if I forget who the director was, Jenn something, I believe.
I will tell you, it was Jenn Wexler.
Yeah, so I would be pretty down for whatever she does next, especially if this gets her a little bit of notoriety. Maybe if she does something else where she has a bit of a bigger budget or something, could be pretty cool. So 7 for me.
Interestingly, this was her first film that she directed, but she did produce Darling, which I loved.
Oh, I did notice that because Darling, that was by Mickey Keating, right? Yeah, because I did notice there's I think he was mentioned in the thank you section.
Oh yeah, makes sense.
That was another movie we disagreed on, though.
The other way around though, because I liked that a lot more than you did. A lot more than you did. So yeah, I'll give it a straight 5. Kind of mediocre, but I like the two lead cast members. And there's moments that are fine, but just ultimately just not really feeling it.
I think another thing that helps too is every now and again it's just good to see an independent movie as opposed to the all of the mainstream movies we do that are just feel exactly the same, and you see the same CGI ghost jumping out at you at every turn, and that's I don't know, I like watching these independent movies where you can actually feel the people making it are actually trying to do something, whether it succeeds or not, versus just some studio just putting something out to make money or whatever.
Yeah, no, I can agree with that. So I wish I liked it more. I really do. I was kind of disappointed because I thought the trailer seemed somewhat interesting, but here we are.
Yeah.
It was just a little bit out of range.
Oh, well, I'm glad that at least it came out last year, because I would not want to argue about this on the end of year list. So
why would you have been arguing it should be on the top 10?
I mean, wait, of this year or last year?
Last year.
Oh yeah, definitely. There was other stuff I think it would have been beat out for me, especially. But
I think I'd have fought you on it. I don't know if I'd have put it on the bottom 10 necessarily. I'd have to go back and check what the bottom entries of that worst 10 were. But
I don't know. I might fight for it. I might have fought for it this year so far, at least, because I don't think I've really been too keen on most of the new movies we've done this year.
Yeah, it's been a rough time this year, but we do have a lot coming up. A lot of which, unfortunately, we're going to have to do as home video releases just because of Tim's vacation selection, and also just different release dates between us, which is annoying. But there's a lot coming up this year. Some of which I'm excited for, some of which I'm cautiously curious about, and you know.
I mean, either way, I will definitely be excited to go out to the theater to see some of this stuff. But yeah, if it'll be good, there's definitely at least a few movies that I'm like have high hopes for. But a lot of the stuff, it's kind of a blank slate right now. Like, this could be surprisingly cool, or it could be, awful.
The Lighthouse, Tim. Just.
Yeah, that's. I mean, much like an actual lighthouse, it seems to be a beacon that will just light the way to good horror. Oh, and Midsommar, I guess I'm pretty excited for too. Those will be like definitely the probably the biggest shining examples.
Yeah, Midsommar. No. So hopefully we'll have some good stuff. Our schedule is packed, don't you worry, folks. But you can let us know what you thought of The Ranger if you've seen it in the comments below. You can like and you can subscribe and you can do all that. You can comment. But that is us. That has been Screams After Midnight. That has been The Ranger. So we will see you guys next time. Keep watching scary movies, guys, and we will see you in the ether beyond the valley
of the dolls
of the screams which come after midnight.
Ooh.